Hello everyone, welcome to HFY Beyond Terror. This channel is all about HFY and sci-fi stories, where humanity's underestimated and then proves...
Partners of the shadow the air on observation deck C always smelled the same. Sterile cleanser, recycled oxygen. And the quiet resignation of people who had exhausted every option. Dr. Helen. Anders stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the medical monitors scroll across a transparent holopanel. Beyond the reinforced glass and shimmering containment barrier, the creature they'd taken to calling Shade lay stretched along the cell floor like a collapsed knight. Its dark fur clung in clumps, stiff with old blood. The luminous specks along its flanks that should have pulsed with life flickered weakly like dying stars. The third emergency board meeting in 3 days had gathered the best minds on Conservation Station Omega-7, and every one of them already knew the ending. Warden Trell, the station's avid administrator, stood at the head of the table. Her plumage was usually immaculate. Tonight it looked slightly unkempt, feathers raised in irritation and worry. "We've tried every protocol we have," she said. Her beak tapped sharply on certain words, the way her species did when anger leaked through professionalism. Sedation failed. Containment adjustments failed. 3 handlers were injured attempting routine intervention. 1 is still in recovery surgery. Dr. Moss, the fungid medic, hovered his glowing scanner over the projected anatomy. Spores drifted around him like faint sparks in the dim room. "The infection has progressed past the initial wounds," he said. "Lymphatic spread confirmed. Even if we could force therapy, captivity shock is accelerating organ deterioration. Wild apex predators rarely survive prolonged restraint trauma." Helen forced herself to look again through the glass. Shade's body reminded her of Earth's big cats, its posture, the tension in its shoulders, the way it breathed with contained strength even in collapse. And yet it was undeniably alien. 6 legs, not 4. A head broader than any leopard's, and those luminous patterns living signals that shifted with mood and intent. It wasn't just an animal. It was aware. Captain Reed, the human security officer assigned to Omega-7, leaned forward. "Remind me, how long ago was the capture?" 6 months, Trell replied, venom sharpening her tone. "Poachers. They wanted the pelt. Vorithian bioluminescent fur can fetch 500,000 credits in the wrong markets. Shock nets. Neural disruptors. When our patrol arrived, the animal had been pinned for 3 days. Helen felt a small hand slide into hers. She hadn't realized Lily had stepped closer. Her daughter's fingers were warm, slightly sticky. She'd probably been holding a ration bar. Lily was 9, quiet in groups, observant in ways that unsettled adults. Helen had agreed to let her attend the meeting, thinking it would help her understand the reality of conservation work. Now Helen wished she had insisted Lily stay in the education pod. Dr. Moss folded his hands, his glow dimming as his voice softened. "The recommendation is humane euthanasia." The words dropped heavy into the room. "We schedule it for tomorrow," he continued. "At midday. There will be no pain." Around the table, heads nodded. Wings dipped. Tentacles tightened. The board didn't look pleased, only resigned. Helen understood the logic. She even agreed with it, professionally. But beside her, Lily made a small sound like someone trying not to cry. Warden Trell noticed. Her gaze softened slightly. "Do you want to speak, young one?" Lily looked up at the gathered council. Her brown eyes were wide and bright, not afraid, just furious in the way only children could be. "Why are you quitting?" A ripple moved through the room. Dr. Moss answered gently, "We aren't quitting. We're preventing suffering. Sometimes mercy is the most humane choice." Lily pointed toward the glass. "But Shade doesn't want to die." Trell tilted her head. "It's in pain?" Resistance is biological. No, Lily said, shaking her head hard. That's not what that look is. The council turned. Shade had shifted. Its massive head had risen, barely, but its amber eyes were open, fixed directly on them through the barrier. Not with aggression. With something else. Lily took a shaky breath. My cat got sick last year. At the vet, she scratched everyone. She hissed. She wouldn't let anyone near her. Not because she wanted to die. Because she was scared. Reed's eyebrows lifted. What happened? Mom took her home, Lily said. And I stayed with her. I didn't try to grab her. I just sat nearby and talked. After a while, she let me touch her. Then she let Mom give her medicine. Dr. Moss let out a slow exhale. A domesticated earth feline is not the same as a Vorithian shadow stalker. Lily didn't argue. She only stared at the glass as if daring Shade to disappear. The vote proceeded anyway. Unanimous. Helen's chest tightened as she walked Lily back to their quarters afterward. Her daughter said nothing, but the silence had weight. That night, Lily stood at their viewport, staring at the stars as if the galaxy itself had offended her. Honey, Helen said, trying to keep her voice steady, I know you're upset. But Dr. Moss is right. Lily didn't turn. You're all smart, but you don't understand. Helen paused. Then tell me. Lily faced her now. Everyone who comes near Shade wants something. A blood draw. A sedative. A needle. A scanner. Shade only knows hands that hurt. Helen swallowed. So what would you do? Lily's voice was quiet but unwavering. I would just sit there. So Shade knows someone isn't going to take anything. Just be there. Helen hugged her, feeling the small bones of her shoulders. You have a good heart, Helen whispered. But hearts don't always fix things. Lily didn't answer. And that should have been Helen's warning. At 3 a.m., Helen woke and noticed Lily's bedroom door was open. The bed was empty. Panic hit like sudden gravity. Helen tore through the quarters. Then the hallways. Then the lounge domes. Then the recreation deck. Nothing. With trembling hands, she called Captain Reed. My daughter is missing, Helen said. And I think I know where she went. Security found Lily 40 minutes later. On the surveillance feeds, she sat on the floor outside the containment corridor, knees pulled to her chest, speaking softly toward the barrier as if it were an open doorway instead of an invisible wall of force. The audio pickup caught every word. My name is Lily. I know you hurt. I know you're scared. But you're not alone anymore. I promise. Inside the cell, Shade had dragged itself closer. Its eyes were locked on the small human child like she was the only thing in the universe. For the first time since rescue, the medical monitors showed something no one had seen before. Stability. Helen arrived breathless with Reed and Dr. Moss behind her. She was prepared to explode. But Dr. Moss froze, lifting his scanner with disbelief. The infection, he whispered. It stopped advancing. His spores brightened with stunned agitation. Heart rate normalized. Stress hormones dropping. That's impossible. The adults stood in silence as Lily sat by the barrier, her voice low, steady, patient. And Shade listened. By dawn, Warden Trell arrived with her feathers flattened tight against her head, the Avan signal for grave concern. This changes nothing, Dr. Moss insisted, though the certainty in his voice had fractured. One night is not recovery. But Shade is calm, Reed countered, pointing at the monitors. For the first time, it isn't in fight or flight. We might be able to treat it without sedation. Trell's gaze flicked to Lily. We have 12 hours before euthanasia. I'll permit a delay, but the child cannot remain in a restricted area. Helen stepped forward to collect Lily. Shade's head snapped up instantly, and a deep vibration rolled through the corridor, less a growl than a warning. The sound wasn't random. It was directed at Helen. Lily blinked awake, saw her mother, and smiled like she was greeting her at breakfast. "Hi, Mom." Helen exhaled hard. "You are in more trouble than you can imagine." Lily stood, brushing her pajamas down. "Shade's not dangerous." Helen stared. "Lily, Shade is scared," Lily corrected. Then she turned to the adults. "You want to help, but Shade doesn't trust you." Warden Trell stepped closer, voice careful. "Young one, will you help us?" Lily nodded. "Tell me what to do." The new protocol was designed with extreme caution. Lily stayed outside the cell, inside a secured corridor. Dr. Moss prepared medication for delivery through the containment system. If Shade showed signs of aggression, treatment ended immediately. Lily returned to her spot by the barrier, but she brought something new, a datapad full of Earth wildlife images. She showed Shade leopards, jaguars, snow leopards. "These are from my planet," she whispered. "They're not the same as you, but they're like you." Shade shifted, lifting itself into a sitting position. Pain made its muscles tremble, but it did not retreat. Lily displayed a leopard with cubs. "Did you have babies?" she asked softly. "Before the bad people." Shade made a sound the team had never heard, an uneven, trembling chirp that turned into a rumbling pulse. Its spots brightened violently, then flickered in waves like a signal flare. Grief. Helen felt tears sting her eyes. "I'm sorry," Lily whispered, voice cracking. "I'm so sorry they hurt you." Dr. Moss approached with the medication applicator. Shade's body tightened, and the warning rumble returned. Lily lifted her hand. "Wait." She looked at Dr. Moss. "Can I do it?" Helen snapped. "No." But Reed's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "There's a floor-level access slot 6 inches. Used for samples." Helen spun on him. "You're suggesting my daughter stick her arm into a predator's space?" Lily stepped closer to Shade and pressed her palm against the barrier. Slowly, Shade lifted one massive paw and pressed it against the same. Spot from inside. Lily's voice became steady again. "Shade won't hurt me. We're partners." Warden Trell hesitated, then gave a small nod. Reed opened the access slot. Lily knelt, took the applicator from Dr. Moss, and reached into the famastomon into the famastum chudembola termas, and reached into the gap. Shade lowered its head, jaws inches from her hand. Everyone held their breath. "Stay with me," Lily whispered. "Let me help." Shade froze. Lily sprayed antibiotic and healing accelerant onto every wound she could reach. The predator flinched once, but did not pull away when the applicator emptied. Lily withdrew slowly. Shade stared at her for a long moment. Then the creature began to purr deep, rolling, strong enough to vibrate through the deck. Reed let out a stunned laugh. "That has to mean something good." Lily pressed her forehead against the barrier. "You're welcome," she whispered. "We're going to fix this." 2 weeks rewrote everything the station thought it knew. Shade recovered faster than medical projections allowed. Infection vanished. Appetite returned only when Lily was present. Calm became routine. Researchers arrived from everywhere. Scholars filled conference rooms, desperate to document what they called the unprecedented human apex bond. Helen tried to remind them. Her daughter wasn't conducting a study. She was caring for a friend. One visiting crystalline researcher observed, "The Varathian alters behavior intentionally to avoid harming the child. This implies consciousness." Helen replied quietly, "My daughter doesn't need a scan to know that." When Shade was cleared for transport back to Vora 3, Another storm arrived. Conservation protocol demanded release, but on transport day, Shade walked calmly to the crate and then stopped. It turned and refused to enter. No panic, no distress, just stubborn stillness and eyes fixed on Lily. Warden Trell called an emergency council, and that was when a holographic transmission appeared. An elderly Varathian with dimmed markings introduced herself as Elder Kess of the Vorathian Cultural Council. In ancient times, Kess explained, shadow stalkers formed rare bonds with individuals they deemed worthy. We called those individuals soul walkers. Trell leaned forward. And if they were separated? Kess's markings pulsed with sorrow. They died, both of them. The stalker wasted away. The soul walker's grief was terminal. Helen's blood ran cold. Lily stood beside Shade, small hand resting against its fur. No leash, no restraint, just trust. Captain Reed proposed a compromise, not separation. Honor. Helen and Lily would relocate to Vora 3 for a minimum of 2 years. Shade would be released to the wild, free to roam, hunt, love, but allowed to return to Lily whenever it wished. The vote was narrow, but it passed. When Helen explained it to Lily, she knelt to meet her daughter's eyes. You'd leave everything. Familiar, Earth, your school, your friends. Lily looked at Shade down the corridor. Its spots pulsed in patterns Dr. Moss had begun to interpret hope, yearning, certainty. Partners don't abandon each other, Lily said simply. Helen swallowed the fear in her throat and whispered, then we'll go together. Shade's purr thundered like joy through metal flooring. Vora 3 was unlike anything Helen had ever seen. Purple skies, 3 moons, forests that glowed like living galaxies, bioluminescent vines and trees pulsing under starlight. Shade ran into the wild the moment the station gates opened. Lily watched until it vanished. Then waited. Days passed. A week. Helen began to worry on the 9th night. Lily stood up suddenly on their porch and whispered, Shade? Helen saw nothing until amber eyes appeared at the tree line. Shade stepped forward, healthy, powerful, wild. And still. It came back. Lily ran down the steps and wrapped her arms around its neck. I knew you would, she murmured. Welcome. Home, partner. Years passed. Shade returned 3 or 4 times a week. Then one evening, Shade arrived with another shadow stalker smaller. Violet-marked. Elder Kess later told them, introducing a mate to one soul walker is the greatest. Trust our culture recognizes. Lily wasn't a visitor anymore. She was family. By the time Lily turned 14, the station held 8 human families. Helen had proposed a program. Train human children to act as companions for traumatized rescued stalkers, not as handlers. Not as trainers, but as anchors of safety. 5 children completed the program. 3 shadow stalkers responded fully. 2 didn't bond, but they didn't deteriorate either. Even a human presence nearby helped. At a formal symposium, the head of Conservation Services announced, humans possess a rare capability, genuine emotional connection across biological divides. This has value beyond study. It is a tool of survival. One night, Lily met Shade in the forest and found 3 cubs tumbling around their mother's legs. The smallest approached Lily, sniffed her hand, and gently bit her fingers like a game. Shade watched, purring approval. They're beautiful, Lily whispered through tears. You did so good. When it was time to leave, Shade pressed its forehead to Lily's chest, an old gesture. Now familiar as language. Trust. Family. Goodbye for now, never goodbye forever. Later, Helen found Lily on the porch, staring into the glowing forest. Your father asked again when we might come home. Helen said softly. Lily considered the stars, moons, the living light of the trees. Then she answered with calm certainty, we stay. At least for now. Helen smiled, pulling her into a hug. When did you become so wise? Lily leaned into her mother and whispered, The day I learned that the scariest creatures sometimes just need someone to stay, to tell them they're not alone when everyone else has decided to leave. Far out in the forest, a pattern of lights pulsed once visible even from the station, a greeting, a promise. Lily lifted her hand in response, knowing Shade could see it, because that was what partnership meant. Not ownership, not control. Just the simple, powerful fact that somewhere in a vast universe, someone cared what happened to you, and sometimes that was enough to save a life.